I tend to swear. I'm Australian, and it's just when I feel comfortable and relaxed, I tend to fucking let it go. So is that okay or not?
Oh, I'm a fucking hick. So please, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's totally okay. We all swear.
I've gotten in trouble by the FCC for swearing on actual broadcast radio before. So knock yourself out.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you guys were okay with that and I wasn't breaking any sort of, I don't know,
D-Day
rule or
puts the little explicit tag on the podcast all the time.
No, I don't, actually. I think Rex said it for that.
Yeah, we should, because we talk about, sex, drugs, and Burning Man.
Well, we don't. We're paragons of virtue.
I've never done an illegal thing in my life.
I'm practically a bishop.
Well, I just want to let you know that you're paragons of virtue because you talk about Burning Man, because you talk about these things. So, yes, I'm right there with you. So,
Thanks.
I just wanted to make sure that, if I just drop it. I don't like it when people swear with anger, like if they're swearing at someone, that really upsets me. That you just dropping fucking F-bombs, I fucking love it. So, that's just, if I tend to do that, if you didn't want me doing that,
We prefer you do that.
Yeah,
We're pretty vulgar, and the only person I ever really swear at in anger is Beth. But she can take it.
I can't think of an accent I'd rather hear cunt in than Australian.
Oh, my God, I almost put
The
tea
Dutch.
through my nose. Okay.
Kunta?
I like it when Kiwis say it because it's so cute. I'm calling you a kid.
You want to know a funny story?
Yes.
Please.
I'm half Dutch.
Oh. That's not bad.
I am. My mom's Dutch. So, yeah. Okay, cool.
Wow.
Cool. That sounds good.
So you've got that dual EU Aussie citizenship?
No, the Dutch are stingy bastards.
Oh,
so
yeah,
my mother,
historically.
You
yeah,
technically
historically,
have to
stingy
raise an area of land in order to become Dutch.
You need to have stocks in your rights for anyone to pay into you having rights.
Oh, absolutely. No, my family came to Australia as refugees due to that whole World War II thing.
Oh, uh-huh.
And she was about 5 or 6 or 7 around there. And because she was naturalised before I was born, and then she was naturalised before she was 18, and because she was a woman, they wouldn't give her EU Dutch citizenship back. So when I was born, because she was a woman and because I was born before 1982, it meant that I was SOL and couldn't become a Dutch citizen.
So but you still somehow managed to escape that prison colony. And are in Denver?
Yeah. Well, that's the funny story.
Trapped in the Anglosphere just like us.
Yeah. Although I get told on a daily basis that I don't speak English. And,
Well, yeah, I mean, get out of our country, and we want our country back and everything.
yeah. I get told I don't speak English, and I have been asked if I was from Texas. True story.
Uh-huh.
And I did, and I just looked at him and went, "No, look, mate, I'm from the real South." And that did not go over well. So yeah, they're parts of the country I'm not allowed back. So yeah.
Welcome to Accuracy Third. I'm D-Day.
I'm Beth.
I'm Rex.
And today on Accuracy Third, we have Eucalyptus.
Man, I hope I get to meet Eucalyptus on Playa this year.
Even though you insulted her over and over again for not understanding her through her accent?
That's an insult. That's my disability.
Our patrons will be able to hear just how heated Eucalyptus and Beth got
Shut
fighting
up!
over their inability to communicate.
You're mean.
I am mean, and that's not true. Eucalyptus was great. I cut out a bunch of the political stuff because we didn't need that. We had a perfect episode and a perfect series of stories from Eucalyptus about their many years doing incredibly cool things on Playa.
And
But if you want to listen to all the political stuff, because chances are if you listen to us, you are well aware of our political affiliations. It's fun and it's great, and you should join Patreon.
Did you keep in the part about Eucalyptus talking about her home, a cattle station?
Oh, absolutely.
Sheep station.
Sheep Station.
Yes, Sheep Station is included in this episode. Rex, do you have something you would like to share about Sheep Station? I think that's for the outro, actually. Everyone, why don't you listen to Eucalyptus right now, and we'll catch you on the other side of the interview to talk to you about the Australian Sheep Station.
Well, so let's get into it. I believe you had a specific story that you wanted to share, huh?
Yeah, I do. It's sort of how I found Burning Man, but listening to the last couple of your episodes, I know that you have a real thing about families, and so there is a sort of a family component there too. So yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that a bit, but I'm happy to answer any questions. Nothing's off limits, and wherever this conversation takes us. And if you want to interrupt during the story, that's fine too, and I'm sure we'll go down some really fun rabbit holes.
Guaranteed.
This will be fun.
Before we get to the story that you specifically want to tell us, can you tell us how it is that you ended up going to Burning Man in the first place?
Yeah, that's the story.
Perfect. Ideal.
Ball's in your court, then.
Bit of a backstory on me and good old Burning Man. So I don't know how much you know about Australian culture, but part of our culture is if you just want to get up and go walk about or take a gap year, it's part of our culture and it's just not seen as a big deal. So anywhere between the ages of, say, 18 and 30, if you just say, right, I'm out, I'm going backpacking, I will see you whenever I get back, no one blinks an eye. And the good part about it is when you finally get back, if ever, if you're then looking for that pesky thing called a job, employers just don't even bat an eye. They just go, oh, how was it? Yeah, I was there too. Like it's just not a problem. And so at about the age of 25, I had, I'd gone to college, I got a good job, and I'm just like, oh, if I don't do this now, I'm not going to do it. So within a 3-month period, I just sold everything I owned and moved to London. And we get a special visa that lets us work there for 2 years. And so,
but legally, do you have to work in a bar or can you work in other places?
Factory?
Well, technically, the visa says that you can't work in an area in which you've trained. So if you're an accountant, you shouldn't go over there being an accountant.
Huh.
Yeah. But
knife swallower.
But yeah. Yeah, you have to be a sword swallower or, a nanny for some pesky rich person or, clean up everyone after a Friday night because you're the barmaid. But to be honest, everyone does. You go over there, you make the most money you can, you work however you can, and you go traveling when you can. The other part of the visa is that you can't work for more than 6 months at a go.
Wild.
So however long you work, you've then got to take that amount of time traveling, and then so the visa goes for 2 years. So ideally you work for 6 months, take 6 months off, etc.
Wow. That's so much cooler than anything the U.S. manages ever to do.
We have healthcare marketplaces, Beth. Why are you shit-talking this country? Greatest country in the world.
Sure, let's go with that. And,
Look, I'm ignorant and I'm right.
Sure, let's go with that. So the cool part is that it's not only in the UK. The Commonwealth countries sort of have this deal going. So you get like a year in Canada and then you can do a year in the Netherlands, which isn't part of the Commonwealth, and there's a year in Japan and there's a year in Ireland and then there's a year in Germany. So you can just piss off and not come home for a while if that's so what you choose, and language, pick it up as you go. So anyway, I go over there and I get myself a job and it's going well, and I decide that I'm going to go traveling. And so I do a lot of research, and cut a long story short, I'm backpacking around Syria. And
wow, that's actually cutting it quite short. Syria seems like a fairly large choice for backpacking.
It was great. Syria was an awesome country to go backpacking around. It took a while to get a visa, and they were pretty pedantic about it. But if you knew what you were doing, and you could do it. And so I spent 6 months researching where I wanted to go, and I'd been to Turkey before, and I decided that I wanted to go back around the Middle East. So I did an overland trip that I planned, and I went solo, and I started in Turkey.
Damn.
And I went around Iran, and then that was awesome, and then ended up in Lebanon, and then caught a bus and I had the visa already and went through Syria. So And they're all stories in their own right. And it was really, really awesome.
I mean, that sounds incredible. Can I ask you one like backpacking question?
Absolutely.
How long were you out? Like, what was your longest stretch without having like a respite in like a hotel or someplace with like support, like a shower, like a campsite or something?
Not too long, maybe 4 or 5 days.
So you planned it out so that every couple of days or so that you would be able to have a place that had some infrastructure.
Yeah, well, most of the places I went did. It was like turning up to a town and finding out. At the time, we had like Lonely Planet guides. There was internet. There was like internet cafes. But I wasn't running around with an iPhone or anything. And I just turned up to the town, and within about, in the town before, you'd usually find out. You'd meet other travelers. You'd meet other people. You'd say, okay, I'm going to this town. Where should I stay? And these were like little, what they call pensions, and they're sort of like little one-star places. And in some places, I ended up staying in people's homes because they'd meet me in the market square and they'd say, right, you're coming home with me. Because the culture in the countries where I was at was that you always invite the stranger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up going to weddings. I was invited to weddings. I was invited to...
That's awesome.
Yeah, there was one place in Iran. The numbering systems over there is different, and I misinterpreted. I thought a 3 was a 7. It wasn't. It was a 3. And it meant that I ended up getting dropped off the side of a highway at 3 o'clock in the morning and got picked up by a random guy who was a taxi, but he wasn't because he just borrowed his brother-in-law's car. And he didn't speak English and I didn't speak Farsi. And so he found this hotel I wanted to stay at, this pension, they were all closed. So he took me home to his wife and she made me breakfast.
Oh,
so
lovely.
Yeah, it was lovely. And then I spent 3 days with them and, yeah, it was lovely. Anyway, there's lots of really good stories like that. So anyway, back to Syria. So I was running around looking at the Crusader castles and they were awesome.
What are Crusader castles?
So when the Crusades came through from England in the 13 and 1400s, a whole bunch of folks decided to go to Jerusalem and take over Jerusalem. And they were, Christian folks, and they decided that they were going to run a war with the
the Crusades.
Yeah.
The Crusades.
Yeah, gotcha.
The first fundamentalists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those guys. Then they built all of these castles while they were over there, and some of them are still there. They're in ruins, but they're really cool. So there was about 3 or 4 of us that hired this taxi guy who then ran us around all the Crusader castles on the coast of Syria. And one of the guys that was in, because I was running around by myself, one of the other tourists that was there was this guy from San Francisco, and his name was Rick. And he said, dude, a lot. And so after this tour, him and I were having dinner and we're just hanging out talking. He said, look, I'm going out to the Iraqi border, a place called Palmyra. Do you want to go? And I'm like, well, what's out there? And he's like, oh, there's really awesome ruins. They're on a hill and it'll be really cool and it's a bus ride and I'm going to stay for a couple of days out there. You want to go? And I went, yeah, sure.
Are those the ones that are carved into a cliff face?
They're on a cliff. Mm. They sort of got blown up by ISIS a few years ago. Mm. And really sad.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing it up, Rex.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad I went because I got to see it and it was a really, really special, beautiful place. So anyway, we get out there and we're in the desert between Syria and the Iraqi border. And it was in the middle of Ramadan, and so the locals weren't really cool about doing much during the day, as you wouldn't. And you're like, no. And also we got there just at the start of a 2-day dust storm. And so there wasn't a lot to do. So Rick and I were hanging out in the pension for a day and a half. And in the afternoon of the first day, he just looks at me. And we hear the wind rattling, and he just looks at me and says, dude, this reminds me of Burning Man. And I just looked at him and just went, Burning Man? What is this Burning Man you speak of? Now, the truth is, in the late 90s, I'd been over in the States a bit for work, and I'd watched a documentary on the Discovery Channel after a couple of too many Chardonnays, and I'd seen this thing called Burning Man on the documentary channel, Discovery Channel, sorry. And I went, oh, okay. So I knew the name and rough idea. But he said, dude. And I went, okay, tell me more. So he spent the next day and a half telling me about Burning Man. And he'd been a lot in the late 90s, and he told me about the big dance camps. He told me about radical inclusion, radical self-reliance. It was before the 10 principles, but he basically outlined them. And then he just told me about an old dance camp that's no longer there called Lush. that used to import sod and used to dance around on live active
On
sod.
grass.
On grass.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, and then the other thing he told me about was the 15-foot blow-up rubber ducky that had an international jazz band in it. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And then he told me about the Contessa and the shark car. And then he told me about running around at, dawn and then telling me about these camps that washed your hair and then, all the things. And then what he really told me that stuck with me was he said, look, people will come up to you and they will hug you properly and they will look you in the eye and say, welcome home. And I'm like,
why would anyone say that to me in a place that isn't my home?
yeah. And I'm like, okay then. So this went on for a day and a half and I just made a vow to myself. I just went, right, okay, I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm going to Burning Man. So then skip forward 3 years and I finished my, my trips around and living in London for 2 years. And I was offered a pretty amazing job to stay in London for another 4 years and I'd have my unlimited right to remain and I could become a UK citizen. And they looked at me and said, well, they couldn't offer it to me, but they were offering it to me. Mm-hmm. And I just looked them in the eye and said, no, I'm good. I'm good. I didn't know why, but I just went, no, I'm good.
They didn't have a regional there yet.
No, there was no bloody regional in the UK.
And, you're Australian. You need the sun.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
What about that Australian fog I've heard so much about?
That's Melbourne. But I'm actually from the outback. But anyway, I grew up on a sheep station of 31,000 acres. So, yeah, fog, not so much.
A sheep station?
Yeah, like a sheep ranch.
Yeah. 31,000 acres. Can you translate that to
the
miles?
entire moon?
Yeah, the size of Vermont. No.
Delaware, at least.
I actually think it is the size of Rhode Island. So anyway, you're right. That fog, it does get to you. So after that, I moved to India, and then
I feel like we should have the map from Indiana Jones with the line of your travel like burning into it as you take plane and like cargo ship from one place to another.
Oh my God! Don't. That's don't. Yeah, I was on a bus in Turkey that had chickens. There wasn't enough room, so they moved the crated chickens and let me sit there as long as I put the crated chickens on my lap. I'm like, okay, we got feathers on this journey. Okay, got it. That sounds great. Anyway, so I moved to India, and but long story, ended up as a yoga teacher, and it wasn't my plan. It was just what happened. And
they just heard your accent and were like, yes. Obviously.
Let's try and beat the crap out of you to get rid of the accent, and stand on your head. But no, the organisation I was part of, it was a bit of a life changer, and they were in Northern California. Well, one of their things was in Northern California, so they asked me to come and help run one of their ashrams in Northern California. Then I worked for them for a while, for a few months, and then was in Canada, and then came back and was a bit burnt out. So I bought a $750 car and went around the States for 3 months and ended up back in California, and they asked me to help run one of their yoga centers, and it was in Los Angeles. So they sent me back to Australia, I got my visa, and I came back, and I was a volunteer for them. And I was in LA, and I'd sort of made a handshake agreement with the head Swami and said, ask no questions, tell no lies. My Saturdays are my own. And she's like, all right. Okay. So because of that, I started dating a guy, and he was really sweet. And a couple of months in, he looks at me and goes, do you want to go to Burning Man? And I'm like, why, yes, I do. And turns out he'd been going for years. And so I'm like, okay, let's go. But the thing was, we broke up before Burning Man happened.
Oh, that's perfect, because then you don't have to do it at Burning Man, which is much harder.
To happen.
Yeah.
He was nice enough. He was actually really sweet. And you just, and and so I was on the hunt for a camp. And, that's the other thing. They were
What year was
camps.
this? I'm sorry. I cut off the polyamorous bit, which I really want to know.
They were a polyamorous camp, and that's cool. That's great. But he said, well, you can still camp with me. And I'm like, not as fresh meat, I'm not.
Yeah, see, you're worldly at this point already. You know.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, no. I have nothing wrong with that. That's great. But you know what? I read the survival guide and they said, don't camp with your exes.
Yep.
So, no, they didn't actually. But they're like, look. I'm like, no, I'm good. So, sorry, you asked me another question?
What year was it that was your first year?
My first year was 2004.
Great. Excellent. Perspective.
Yeah.
Best year.
So,
I am so glad to hear that there's been polyamorous camps there from long before I went.
This whole time.
This whole time. Good
yeah.
job, polyamorous weirdos.
They discovered polyamory in the 90s, and it really took off from there.
yeah, so I had no problem with it. I'm like, yeah, but you want me to? No, I'm good, thanks. So I was on the hunt. So I don't know if you guys remember something before Facebook called Tribe.net.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we all remember
Yes.
Tribe.
You could put up pictures of your boobs. You can only share them with your friends.
Thank you, Beth.
I loved that aspect of Tribe.net. You could have not safe, because there was a bunch of photos that I took at Burning Man that I loved that had a lot of nudity in them that I wanted to obviously post to the internet.
It was the early 2000s. People couldn't steal your data yet.
Oh, tell you about it. Yeah. Let's go with that. Mm-hmm. So I found Tribe.net, and through that, there were a couple of really good Burning Man groups, and through that, I found the Heebie Jeebies healers.
Oh.
Everybody does.
Yeah, everybody does. So I got in touch with them because I'm on a shot clock. This is like 3 months from Burning Man. I'm like, So for me, I'm a bit of a planner, and so I'm like, okay, let's get this done. So I get in touch with the Heebies and say, hey, mate, I'm a yoga teacher, and I'm also, if you got room, and I knew they were a Colorado-based camp. And they're like, yes, we need another one, but we're a service-based camp. We'd also need you to take on the role of being a moop mistress. And I went, sign me up.
What is it?
And
yeah.
I'm like, yes, I'm on board. What is it? And so they explained what moop was and what a moop mistress was. And I'm like, oh, yeah, can I wear an outfit? And they're like, sure. So
the moop mistress is the one that manages the business for the other moop.
I mean, I feel like
That's the moop madame.
Moop madame, you're right.
I feel like we haven't really investigated moop pigs.
Oh, my
A
God.
moop mistress should be probably herding a bunch of moop pigs.
Yeah, but it's not really worth it unless they're also pay pigs. You want a return on your time investment.
Yeah, this is true. We got bags that were all zhuzhed up, and I needed a riding crop because I went, if I'm going to be a mistress, I'm going to have them. Anyway, but it got in the road of me actually picking up moop. So anyway, yeah, I'm like, oh, I only so much for the gag. So anyway, I turn up on Playa. I'd never met any of them, only a couple of emails. And the Heebies that year had gone through incredible growth, and they'd gone from 65 people to over 110.
Ooh. Jeez. Fuck, that's a huge change.
It was a huge change, and they'd done a good job about changing parts of their infrastructure, but they'd forgotten to grow a few parts of their infrastructure. So I'm there going, okay, I'm here to help, very much, I lived in Los Angeles with yogic monks. And so I was used to communal living, and I was used to, just getting in, pitching in and helping out. And so on the first night of the dinner, the leader of the camp says, hey, we forgot to grow the shower infrastructure, and we've only got 2 showers. We know you all like to have showers at sunset. We're sort of being serious when we say this, but with consent, shower with a friend. And we're like, oh, okay. So after dinner, we're all lining up.
No, I hate that idea. Don't make me.
Yeah.
Turns out they're all poly camps.
You know what? The thought did cross my mind. I'm like, have we done a big fucking, bait and switch here? What is going on? And as it so happened, the camp that my ex was at had been placed across the road. True story. So anyway, so I'm like, oh, well, we're all about objectives here. I'm a team player. Let's go. But I'm sitting there, and I've been living in a monastic environment for a while, And I'm like, no, I got this. I'm at Burning Man. It's fine. So I'm standing there alone with my sun shower. Remember those?
Mm-hmm.
This big bag of heated up water that's been sitting in the sun all day. And there's this amazing woman from New York standing in front of me. Her name was Olga. And she goes in and she was a force of nature. She just opens up the curtain and says, get in here. And I'm like, okay. So I get in the shower and she's all wet down and she's like, right, soap me up. I'm like, okay. So I'm like soaping this lady that I've never met before, introducing myself as I'm, helping her soap up. And then she waters down and we get her out and she's done. And then I'm starting to have a lovely shower. And then I realize about 5 minutes in, oh, shit, we have objectives. We got to do a thing. So I open up to the curtain. I put the next person in line and I said, get your ass in here. And that's how I met my husband.
Not bad.
Well done.
Absolutely. And he now runs Piers.
Very cool.
Did you know during that shower?
No, absolutely not.
Did you know at the end of that Burning Man?
No, we became friends and we were being chased and chasing other folks. However, we knew we had a pretty cool friendship. But by the Christmas, I'd come out to Colorado for the big New Year, just balls to the wall party that was happening in Steamboat Springs. And by the end of those 5 days, I was supposed to spend like one day with all of these other friends as well that I'd met. Yeah, that didn't happen. And yeah, by the end of that, it was like, holy shit. No, so it didn't happen at Burning Man, but it was in
the year.
Yeah, it was in 3 months. Yeah, yeah. And,
that's adorable.
Yeah.
Love that story. Oh my God.
Yeah, congratulations on shower topping your way into a relationship.
Yeah, so it was funny. A few years later after that, we were married and I just remember looking at him one day and going, mate, remember that shower? And he's like, why, yes, I do. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I said, did you take a peek? And he's like, well, by now you know I am a heterosexual man. Why, yes, I did. And I went, oh, okay. And he's like, did you? And I went, no, I didn't. And he's like, well, you're a fucking idiot, aren't you? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I was like, we had objectives. We had to get through the shower.
This is a tactical shower.
Yeah. Yeah, so when I realized that we now have teenage kids and I heard my 16-year-old daughter tell someone how we met, and I'm like, oh, not quite sure that's for public consumption. But then I'm like, I'm going on a podcast and telling
this is a parent-teacher conference.
No, it wasn't quite there.
That's okay. This podcast is labeled adults only, so any kids that hear this story are being very naughty.
They have to put in the password to even get the feed. So I think it's good.
I think we're good. I think it's, oh, yeah. No, everyone knows this story now. But, yeah, it's true. So to answer your question, how did I find Burning Man? In the Syrian desert, followed by a shower.
Wow. What a great story. I was thinking about when you were saying that you joined Heebie Jeebies and hadn't actually met anyone. I was like, man, that's so brave of you. And then I'm like, oh, right, backpacking through Syria. Like, wow, what a bunch of bold-ass choices.
Well, they all sort of worked out. One thing to add to what you just said, you're like, yeah, Syria, but, bold-ass choice of picking a camp you'd never met anyone. Well, my backup was the polyamorous camp next door. So,
Yeah.
That is the sign of a very good plan. You have backup plans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, no, it all worked out. People asked me how I felt like having all the backpacking experience. And then going to Burning Man, like, was it this big, life-altering event? And the answer was no. It was a life-affirming event. Mm. It really showed me that I'd found my tribe and that it was just more of an extension of a lot of the decisions I'd made about wanting to explore, wanting to see things that were different. And the fundamental question of what fueled my backpacking was, why is it so? You walk into a village, you walk into a town, you walk into a country, and you're like, oh, I'm fascinated about what choices have led to what I see in front of me. And that sort of question is every year I get to do that at Burning Man as well.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You obviously caught the bug and caught it good.
But did you know that you had caught it at the end of your first Burning Man? Like your first Burning Man where you're like, absolutely, I'm coming back? Or were you one of those ones that tricked yourself into thinking you didn't want to come again?
No, I knew I was coming back.
Excellent.
I knew I was absolutely coming back. And I did. I came back in 2005. And that was a very, very different year. And that was probably my least favorite year of all the times I've been.
What was different about that for you?
It was the first time I'd gone with someone. So it was the first time Eric and I had gone together. And we were in a big infrastructure camp the year before, but there was a bunch of us that then decided to break off and do our own thing.
Small camp.
Yes.
Of close friends.
Yeah. And then there was a lot of dynamics there. But the main bummer was that I'd asked someone to bring my bike and then they'd moved camps and didn't tell me where they moved to. So I ran around Burning Man without a bike all camp and I was pretty grumpy. So, yeah, that was the main part of just, I think, second yearitis as well, of having an idea about what to expect and then finding it very, very different and not sure and being able to square that circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we always caution people to for their first year to come without expectations. But I guess the real risk is that second year.
Yeah.
You've had this unbelievable experience and all of a sudden you feel like you've got all the context in the world. And you still don't know shit.
Oh.
The weather's going to be different.
Yeah.
The art's going to be different.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be different.
And you're different when you go. I remember that about my second year where I didn't have the breaking open feeling that I had the first year because I knew the person that I was there. And that was great for me, but I can also understand very clearly how that can be disconcerting for folks that really have a spectacular first year.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, it wasn't, I didn't feel I was any really different. It just affirmed that there were more people like me or that the experiences that I was having, it more integrated who I was and that it gave me more confidence to be the real true me everywhere. I always thought I was, but it was more like amplified now. But the second year was great. I saw fire spinning for the first time in my first year. So, and I was just blown away by that.
Can I ask you just genuinely why? Like, I haven't talked to many fire spinners about what it is that engages them with it. Like, what about fire spinning grabs you?
To me, it was the artistry. Yeah, the artistry of it and how the different ways that you can express yourself with fire. You could be with poi, you could be with staff, you can be with all these different things. But then
you can be on fire, you can be not on fire. Those are very different expressions.
You can have third-degree burns.
Yeah, I just want to smell like white gas.
Yeah. But I also really was blown away by them telling stories together.
So the community.
Yeah, that community and watching them do it together and just the visceral nature of it, especially if you're up close next to it, and the athleticism. But for me, it was that elemental, very visceral feeling of something that was very base in nature in a good way.
Oh, my God, I'm about to set myself on fire. I'm going to set myself on fire. I'm going to set myself on fire.
I am fire dance!
Yes. Yeah, very much so. I
get it.
Yeah, watching that, also having spent time in various places where fire was part of the culture, was like, here's a different way of expressing the different thing in a very different culture. So I went straight back to LA and found an LA fire tribe, and the next year I spun under the man.
Oh,
rad.
Nice.
Yeah, I wasn't very good.
She's a go-getter. She's going to keep excelling in this field.
It's okay. In 2005, only about 5% of the people were very good. It hadn't really caught.
No, it hadn't. It hadn't. I was good enough. And I'd set myself a goal that year that I'd done a lot of spinning during the year, going from nothing to being able to be on with the group. And I wanted to spin topless. And I
want you to spin topless.
I want to see that on Tribe.
Yeah. You want to put me photos of me on the internet. That's what you want to do.
Only for friends.
Thank you, Beth.
Well, there is that, so sure. Why not?
Beth is my sensitivity beard.
So I found this random guy on the playa, and he was spinning the staff, and we just decided to start jamming, and he was topless, and I went, yeah, sure, why not? So off we went, and I had friends of mine, watch the girls, and I'm like, the girls are fine. The girls are fine. So,
they manage themselves, actually.
Yeah, they do actually, and mine aren't that big, so we're good. There wasn't much management needed. So yeah, that was a pretty liberating, amazing experience. And so my second year, that I think about it, wasn't bad. It felt like a heavy landing coming out of an airplane. It was just fairly jolting. You got the result you wanted, but I don't know quite how to express it, but it was okay.
Some years are hard years.
Yeah.
So some years you really have to work and it doesn't feel fun in the moment. Then you look back at it and you're like,
man, I was having a lot of fun though.
That was all pretty great.
Yeah. That was that.
No matter how stupid your year is, it's still really funny. It's always really funny out there.
One time at Burning Man. So then we had tickets for 2006, and we found out about a month after we bought tickets that I was pregnant. And I'm up for a lot of stuff, but giving birth on the playa, no.
It's going to happen someday. Someone will do it.
Someone who needs like psychiatric support and like more like community.
No one's been born on playa?
I don't know.
There must
No.
There are so many pregnancy carts in Rampart Playa. I don't think they'd bring out like 5 if no one ever gave birth on playa before. If you've given birth on playa, please reach out to accuracy3rd@gmail.com and Rex will get back with you.
Yeah, no, so our eldest was born 3 weeks after Burning Man, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
So that didn't happen. And then we took a big break and started going to regionals with our kids, and we did that for years. And then
which regionals did you go to? Shout out your regionals.
Apogea, Colorado. And then I went by myself to Loveburn. I think we went to Lightning in the Bottle, but not with our kids. But yeah, Apogea was the main one. And then we became like the parent reps for Kidsville for a few years. And yeah.
Aww.
So
have the kids gone to Burning Man now?
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
Yes, they have. And one of the funny things that we didn't realize was an outgrowth of that was our youngest went to Burning Man went to Apogea when she was 9 months old. So she grew up in the community. And we then went on a camping trip to the sand dunes in Colorado when they were about 7 or 8 or something like that. And they, without missing a beat, started packing all the tutus. And we're like, and we're like, you can? And they're like, yeah, but when we go camping, we always hit these bins. These are the bins we take. And I'm like, you got to take the tutus. And I'm like, different type of camping.
We always have tutus when we're camping.
Yeah.
What if it's Tuesday when we're in the woods?
Yeah. They seriously didn't understand camping because in Colorado, the Apogea when we were going was up in the mountains, and they were like, no, this is what we do when we go camping. We take tutus, we take bubble wands, we take a lot of face paint, and you take a lot of beer. And I'm like, well, yes, and.
Welcome to a very different type of camping.
Yeah. And I'm like, look, bring the tutus if you want. I'm just letting you know that you'll probably be the only ones wearing them when we walk into the national parks. And they're like, oh, well, okay. So we packed them, but they didn't bring them out. So they didn't understand that camping didn't involve this big community event where there was loud music and tutus and face painting. And yeah, anyway, to answer your question, we did take them for the first time when they were 8 and 10, but they were turning 9 and turning 11. At that point, we were camping with another camp. We're camp leads with Astral Headwash. So
that's funny when you were telling your story about
hearing about head washing.
Astral Head Wash was the name that popped through my head when you talked about washing hair.
Yeah, it was funny because now we help run the camp. We went with them for years, and talk about a service camp that just has a great. Oh, we love that camp. So we took our kids And that's a funny story. My youngest broke her collarbone at Burning Man.
Oh, wow.
Is that funny?
How did that happen?
How was that funny?
Well, it's one of those stories that's not funny then, but funny now.
Oh, absolutely. This young human being is how old now?
She's 16.
Yeah, it's funny now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's no longer screaming in pain.
No. So massive shout out to Rampart, but I'll tell that part of the story. But my 8-year-old had spent the day at a day rave camp. True story. They had these Stuffies on a stick. I forget the name of the camp. They were like down the road from us. And they'd come in and then you get a Stuffy and then you put a hole in its bottom and then you stuff this stick into it and then they'd wrap some tape and like, and then all of these day ravers would be running around dancing with these Stuffies on a stick. So the little tribe of kids that were in our camp and over in Kidsville that ran around together, they went, well, we want that too. So they walked into these guys. They're like, we want them too. And they went, okay. So they made so there's these like 7 and 8-year-olds running around with all of these adults who are consuming God knows what and having a great time. And they all ended up with these Stuffies on a stick. So they all come home about a couple of hours after that. My kids did a day rave, as you do. And we were like 2 teams down. It wasn't 2, and they knew us and we knew them. It was, like everyone who's clutching their pearls. It's going to be okay. Yes, I knew where my kids were. It was fine. Anyway, there were 2 camps down. So they come back. So they decide, and they're having a great time with this EDM music. And so we had some music playing. And so they get on their bikes, but they're holding their Stuffy on the stick one-handed so they're holding their bike handles with one hand.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
They've got their Stuffy on the stick on the other hand. And then her shoelaces come undone and wrap around the...
At least she was wearing shoes, though.
Yeah.
My collarbone hurts.
Yeah, but my big toe doesn't.
And she came off, and I was in camp getting everything ready for dinner, and I just heard this scream. And I don't know if you guys are parents, but when your kid screams, you know it's there. You know it's yours. You know, that chip they implanted when your child was born to be aware of any child in danger, you can't get it out.
Yep.
So I heard her scream, and she came off the bike and instant bruise. And so we go then to Rampart. And the Rampart aren't used to seeing a lot of kids. They didn't even let the yellow shirts out the front. Mm-hmm. They didn't even let our bum hit the seat. They just went, you're going back to the big boys. And my daughter is, oh, wow, she's a pistol and she's amazing and she'll run the country if, she decides to do it. And she goes in there, but we get surrounded by nurses and doctors and orderlies because they don't see many kids. And this is 2017, so this is the really hot year. And there were people on lawn chairs everywhere with IVs in their arms because they're all dehydrated. And we walk into the back of Rampart and we're surrounded by folks trying to help. My daughter's just overwhelmed and she just goes, I need you all to back off.
It is funny.
Yeah, it is. And she's like, you need to back off right now. And I'm like, sweetheart. And I look at them and I'm like, I think we need to give her some space. And so by the time we left Rampart, we had so much swag. We had T-shirts and water bottles and a CD of her x-rays and drugs and a sling. And they look at me and say, well, you're going to take her into Reno. And I'm like, why would I do that? And they're like, to get her checked out. And I said, well, haven't you just done that? And they're like, yes. And I said, will our prognosis be any different? And they're like, no. And I said, can I wait for a checkup when I get back to Denver in about a week? And they're like, yes.
So do you doctors have like some kind of low self-esteem because you're out in the desert and you don't feel like real doctors anymore? This is weird. Why are we having this conversation, guys?
Yeah, because you're all in tutus. And so I went, no, I'm not going to take her in. Why would I do that? So she was fine. She was just really grumpy for the rest of the week because she couldn't ride a bike anymore, and she spent the whole summer learning to ride a bike.
Mm-hmm. That's what you get. Tie your shoelaces. Yeah. That's why your mom was like, tie your shoelaces.
Look, you're 8 years old. You can only learn so many things. She spent the entire summer learning to ride a bike. She didn't have any attention for shoelaces.
This is true. Yeah, so this is why she now wears cowboy boots. She doesn't. No laces for her.
Yes, this is smart.
Learned.
Yeah, so we took them in 2017, and then 2 years later, our eldest has some special needs. They're autistic. At the end of Burning Man, my husband looks at them and says, "How was that? And what do you think?" She said, "I found my people."
Aw.
Yep.
And we're like, "Do you want to come back?" So 2 years later, we brought them back, and we said to the youngest, "Do you want to come?" And she's like, "No, I'm over it. I'm good."
Yeah, no, I met your people. They're fine.
Yeah.
I'll see you at the holidays.
Yeah, I'll go spend a week with Grandma, and there's so much sugar to be had. It's going to be great. So she went to Grandma's for a week, and we took the eldest, and they had a great experience as well. And, so Burning Man's been an incredible family thing for us. But we definitely want to have years on, years off, because it's a different experience taking kids. And I'll always be a very, very huge advocate that kids get to go to Burning Man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your eldest is going to be an adult by now, yeah?
Yeah, they're now 18.
Have they made a decision about staying a burner or not?
Oh, they want to come back. And we're like, maybe.
18 is a tough year.
Yeah.
18 is a year where you don't have to take care of them.
Yeah, but
You can send them off on their own.
When they turn 19, they could become a ranger, start taking care of the rest of us.
Well, they can technically be a ranger at 18.
Yeah, but let them have 1 year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, good plan. I like your parenting skills there. Good job.
And they need to pay their dues and be a greeter for a year. Everybody has to pay the dues.
Yeah.
But not everyone has to be a greeter.
Are there greeter rangers like there are DBW rangers?
No, greeters
Are there
ranger
special
themselves.
rangers? Oh my God, that's so funny. They write each other apology cards.
Greeters ranger themselves. They don't need rangers. There's special DPW rangers, but you don't need special greeter rangers because they're rangering themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know how many greeter rangers we have, but we have a lot of gate rangers, and they have a special name. They're called Black and Tan.
Black and tan.
Yeah, to be gate or to be a ranger is to have a concept of yourself at the event where you are in some sort of tutelage to the community in a way that is very important to you and them. And I think there's a lot of crossover because of it.
Yeah. I just think, I think gate's a good place for rangers to swear.
Yeah, put them in the lanes for an hour, let them get it out.
Yeah.
It's a job you don't have to be 100% sober to do.
Yeah, well, there's that too. There's that.
You can't have had a beer recently.
Yeah.
But on Playa, a beer is my meds.
Yeah. Hydration? No, I didn't say that. But I think my eldest, honestly, I think there's a bit of DPW waiting to happen at some point.
Oh,
we all
awesome.
have to admit
Wonderful.
when your kids are going to be DPW.
I mean, if I had gone to Playa when I was 18, I would have been DPW. I'm glad by the time I got to Burning Man, I had largely grown out of that phase of my life. But shit, if I went straight from Pennsylvania to Burning Man, I would have been DPW before my first year was over.
Yeah.
Do you have any recommendations for folks that might be considering bringing their kids out there?
Don't.
Yes. Sorry, did you want me to give my advice or not?
Yeah.
I would be really excited to hear, just because, so my brother and my sister-in-law are pressuring me to bring my niece out, and I was like, not a moment before she's 21, period. But I see that so much beauty and interest and neatness happens by bringing out younger people, but that's a huge commitment on the side of people who are bringing them out. And I'm just wondering if you have any recommendations for folks that are thinking about it.
Yeah, go to Burning Man without your kids, first of all, so that you have an idea about what you're getting into and what the expectation is, and also that you can have your experience, and so that you have that framework of what it is. The second one would be Camp with Kidsville. Kidsville is a kid-centered community that also it isn't just for the littlies. There are a lot of teenagers that are also in Kidsville, And ideally go with another couple or another group or another couple that has, or another team that has kids in it, so that you can trade off. That would be the other piece. And also just know that your burn is going to be very different. It's going to be great, but it's going to be different. Also make sure that you have a strategy that if you have to get out, you can. If it just is going sideways and it's just not for you, or that a kid gets sick and you just decide that this isn't what we need, then make sure that you have an exit plan, and that takes a lot of pressure off. Also just know that you're going to go at a slower pace, and that you're going to have an experience and see the burn through their eyes, and it's absolutely fabulous, but it's going to be different. And also know that there are a lot of camps out there that are very, very kid-friendly. They do want your kids to come in. The other part from me was that I had no expectations for anyone else to change their burn. This was my Eric and I's responsibility. We decided to bring our kids. And so that was up to us to manage their burn. If there was something at Burning Man that we didn't want them to see or to experience, then that was up to us, not up to someone else to censor themselves or the expectation they had to change what they were doing. And if you go from that perspective, like any city, there are parts you wouldn't let kids run around by yourself.
Yeah.
But know that it is no one else's responsibility to curate your kid's burn other than yours.
Oh, thank you for that. That's like such a important perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to go to a radical community except immediately around me.
Yeah. Exactly. The kids had an incredible experience. And the other thing is giving them the language that if they do see things or do ask questions, that they can ask you anything. And I'm sure most people taking kids to Burning Man are going to have that anyway.
Have a healthy relationship with your child. Maybe start with having a healthy relationship with your child.
Yeah.
I feel like that's directed at me, Beth. That's kind of fucked up. Let's talk about that later.
I can't wait until Code Adam comes to Burning Man. I think it's going to be a delight.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll put a plug in there for the Rangers. As soon as you hit playa with your kids, take your kids up to HQ window and get them as part of the program that they get a bracelet that has your details and also has the number of the kid, so that if anything happens and the Rangers find your kid and they don't find you, then they can match you up pretty easily and they'll have your details and they'll know where to go and where you are and have your details.
Number your children. Mm-hmm. Number them.
Yeah. But if you lose them, no matter what, their DNA is going to be sold to a pharmaceutical agency.
No, that's DPW. That's not Ranger.
Oh, it's everywhere now. I've been listening to this guy. His name is just a single letter. It's something like R or Q. Q. Have you guys heard about Q?
No.
Oh, God, you're lucky. No,
Good.
thank you.
Good. Please. Hooray. So you've kind of segued for us. I wanted to ask you, and I want to preface this by saying that we understand that Rangers don't really talk about the specifics of the work they do out there and don't represent the organization when they speak of their experiences, unless they explicitly say so. But I want to know why and how you ended up as a Ranger.
That's a very good question. So a couple of reasons. I always found myself leaning towards service camp. So I started out with Heebies and then I ended up at Astral Headwash. And for me, I found myself getting stuck in camp, and just didn't leave. And the playa comes to you in a situation like that with over 5 days your camp is washing about 1,000 people's head with 1,100 gallons of water. You get to meet a big slice of Burning Man and it's awesome. It's great. But you don't get to see a lot of Burning Man. And it wasn't so much that, it was generally my experience of being in a service camp. I saw Rangers as a way of being able to take a service mobile. You got to provide a service, but it was very much mobile and you got to see a lot more of Burning Man. One thing I also loved about Rangers is that you were never alone. You were always in a pair. You always had someone to soundboard off. One was dealing with the situation, another one was doing the radio. And I really liked that approach. It wasn't this single point of failure. You always had that pair and you always had backup. I also just love the color khaki.
It's very flattering. Especially when you're covered in dust.
That is charming. I've never actually heard that as a Ranger motivation.
Some folks just like taupe.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fuck that. No, that is just the most unglorifying colour ever.
Come on, don't you want some weird pink in with your light brown?
Yeah, no, I really don't. I'd also met some folks that were rangers, and I'm like, yeah, I'd like to be like you when I grow up.
Yeah.
So there was that, and I really wanted to give it a go. And I also looked at Gate and went, yeah, no. So
This
Seems
is a
like
lot of
y'all are
messy
going to expect me to
polyamory.
be a lot as a person out here.
well, I just like my showers. No, I'm kidding. So, Gate, I love you. You're some of my best friends. But I've actually signed up a couple of times to be Gate, but with rangering, I just didn't have enough time. But that was the main part. I also saw some situations where rangers were there, but they weren't trying to take over the situation.
It's really impressive. Like when you have any perspective at all on handling situations the way that rangers do, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I really loved when I got to know them a bit more and I did some of the training. I loved it. We're an organisation whose first thing is first, do nothing. I'm like, oh, I can get behind that. Tick.
Some of my best friends have rangered me.
Yeah. I got officially rangered last year. Oh, wow.
Fuck yeah. Tell us about that.
So my husband couldn't come to Burning Man, so I took the trailer and drove the truck myself and had never really, didn't really know how my trailer worked as well as I should have and didn't understand that if you fill up a gas tank at night with the heat in the day, that it will start leaking. So my gas started leaking all over the playa, and a pair of rangers found out it was my trailer, and I thought they were punking me. I thought because I knew the ranger, and I'm like, if this is bullshit, we'll have him. And he's like, no, actually, I thought you thought I'd be joking, so I actually ranged it in because I rang it in because I didn't think you'd believe me. I'm like,
Yeah, so check the database, then come back and do something about your fucking gas tank.
yeah. So I had to race home. I was on shift and I had to race. They're like, you've got to go back to camp. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I go back and I ride back and I'm like, what's going on? And it was bad. It was the fire chief standing there going, yeah, I can't leave the scene until you tell me how you're going to fix it.
Oh, no.
Oh my God. That's the worst. I'm sorry, competent person, but you have to hang out here for a bit.
Yeah. It was funny. But the silver lining to this story was that the partner of the ranger who called it in, she went and got her head washed. Yeah, so she went and got a head wash, and it was her second shift ever, and she's like, oh, this camp exists. And I'm like, oh, honey, yes.
I've never had my head washed, and I feel like that is a thing that I would. So I like giving people foot massages, but only people that I like and feel comfortable with. But I feel like I could potentially give a very present head wash to a stranger in a way that I couldn't with a foot massage.
Yeah, absolutely. So the trick with Astral is the majority of people doing the head washing are volunteers that are in the line themselves, and they just go and wash people's hair until it's their turn.
I'm going this year. I would love to wash people's hair. I'm honestly a little bit more interested in the act of washing other people's hair.
I'll go with you. You can wash my hair as long as you also scrub behind my ears, because that's the time that I get that cleaning done.
Okay, so with health regulations, we can wash hair, but we can't do anything on your face. So we can't wash beards, we can't wash mustaches, we can't do that. We can spray water around your ear and we can gently massage that area, but we then can't wash your
back of my ears ain't my face, though.
Yeah, well,
and I'm Greek. Area. Like, my hairline can damn well go to the back of my ears.
How you choose to personally manicure yourself is between you and
Beth.
I really like the idea of doing that. It's something that has always sounded so lovely, but I've never actually just organically run into on playa. And it is one of those physical things. Massaging is hard to do well. Foot massaging I can do well, but only if I like you. But maybe just a scalp massage And like, let me make your hair not have tangles in it. That sounds fun.
Scalps are rarely as gross as feet, as long as you're not touching the backs of the ears.
Hoof and hair disease.
I've never come across one of them.
Mm-hmm.
We have brushes and stuff, so you can brush out your hair before you get to the table. And just watching people, the magic of it is watching people connect and holding that safe space. We've had people start crying on the table. We've had people make connections and they meet up afterwards. We've had people just having maybe a crappy burn just come in and have that moment where they're having nice cold water sprayed on their hair. And they are just taking that moment to just reground and reconnect. And it really is magical to watch. And it really, really is very cool to be part of someone else's experience.
It really strikes me, again, how bad we are at platonically touching each other. Like, one of the things that I like about foot massage or hair washing or anything on Playa, the hug deli, is that we're so isolated from that, even in our giant hippie cultures, that it is such a wonderful opportunity to have platonic touch between human beings, which is a thing we literally need or we die. And we can't.
You still an infant, Beth?
We can't figure out how to do well and kindly between each other. It's such a cool project. How long have they been doing it for? Do you know?
22 years.
Fuck yes.
And I have some bad news. They're not coming to Playa this year.
So much water.
I'm so sorry. I've given them this huge big plug and now they're not coming to Playa this year.
It's okay. I say we replace that camp with Failure to Thrive Camp. And you can come into our camp and we will not wash your hair. But here is this wire armature of a monkey mother covered in a terry cloth towel. You can cuddle that for a bit if you like.
Hug it.
No, don't.
Lend it your warmth, then waste away.
I'll go to Temple of Atonement. Don't do that.
No one has the energy to need to be rangered here at Failure to Thrive Camp.
You can get a drink by curling up in a fetal position.
You can't get a fucking drink. You don't get served at Failure to Thrive Camp, but we will bring a glass over and leave it 3 feet away from your outstretched arm.
Oh my God, I am not taking that ranger call. I am not.
We don't need to be rangered. We're rangering ourselves. Just leave us here. We don't deserve anything else. No one ever loved me.
Oh, stop it.
It's okay. My attachment is actually very strong. Too strong, some people say. Beth.
Oh, that's too funny.
So was there a moment that first year when you had the realization that this was home?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple of them actually. So, okay. I'd driven overnight with 2 people that I'd never met before, got to a ride share. There was a list of people offering rides, and I went with these 2 people and literally in the back of a white van. I'm like, oh my God. All right. I backpacked around by myself. We're good. Let's go. And that I never met. They turned out to be awesome. We had a great time. But we arrived on Playa at sunrise on the Sunday. This was back when the event didn't open till Monday. And we came over as the sun was rising. We were coming through Gerlach and, it was just magical. We got through the gate. It was pretty easy. And these 2 folks dropped me off at the Heebies. And I'm standing there on sunrise at meeting these people. And then the first person I met just looked at me and said, "Welcome home." And they hugged me in a way that it was a full body hug, and talk about, platonic touch, but there was nothing icky about it. And I just felt myself ground and I went, oh, this is going to be interesting. And then I found that first day There was a group of massage folks who had been doing a tantric massage masterclass in Colorado for like 3 months.
Mm-hmm. That's such a long time not to come.
Oh, you know this group. Okay.
Yeah. I had to ask Sting to lose my number.
So then they were doing this final masterclass session. Everyone had come out to Burning Man and had arrived at Burning Man, and they were doing a massage class that night. And they said, "Oh, we need bodies and we need guinea pigs to be the people we're massaging."
Oh no, massage me.
Yes, and I'm like, oh, I've been living in a monastic community for, I don't know, 6-8 months by the a year and a half by that point.
Jesus Christ.
With no touch. And I'm like, yes, please. This might be more than I bargained for, but you know what? We're good. So I decided to be one of the guinea pigs, and I get paired up with an amazing massage therapist, a woman. And she gives me the most intense massage I've ever had. She's moving energy back and forth and around my body, up and down, all the way through. And I've never experienced anything like that. By the point at the end, I'm standing there butt naked at the end, not knowing where I am or what I'm doing. I stand out on the playa, standing in front of like 3 other people who are absolutely butt naked as well. They've been doing it. They've been massaged. And then I just get hugged again. And I recognized I'm home. And so, yeah, it was a bit hippy-dippy and it was fucking amazing. And I realized, yeah, I'm in the right place.
It was exactly what had been described to you in Syria.
Yeah. Where was the fucking grass? I wanted grass. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not a clothes-off type of person. I'm very pale, so I'm just worried about my pink bits getting sunburned. That's all I'm cared about. It's not oh my God, I'm not wearing clothes. It's like, I'm going to get sunburned. This is not going to be good for anybody. And standing there at sunset, you know, butt naked on the playa, just going, yeah, okay, I can do this. This will be amazing. So, yeah, that was one of the experiences that I had at Burning Man. That was like, yeah, okay, let's go.
And we're back. Rex, would you like to tell our listeners the size of a sheep station? Well, not a sheep station, specifically of Eucalyptus's childhood sheep station.
Did you happen to note down the value?
31,000 acres.
31,000 acres.
I watched you look this up while we were recording, and I was shocked that you didn't mention it.
There was no interrupting Eucalyptus. It wasn't worth us butting in.
Specifically, it is 1,000 acres bigger than San Francisco, the city of, which is 30,000 acres.
That's a large amount of land.
That's a lot of sheep.
That is a farm the size of our metropolis.
It's a ranch.
Which is 7 by 7-ish miles, just so you know. It's larger than that. If you don't understand San Francisco, which is also a similar size to the city of Paris, if you know that one better, it's fucking large. It takes hours to walk across it. It is a big stretch of land.
But what a delicious amount of sheep must be in that city's worth of land out in the outback. Mate.
I mean, I assume in the outback you need like at least 100 acres to feed one sheep because it's mostly poisonous snakes and spiders. Like, sheep don't eat poisonous snakes and spiders.
They got glimpies out there, don't they?
Gimpies.
But glizzies. I meant glizzies.
You are confusing the world's most painful plant with a hot dog. Which I understand is a fairly common pattern recognition failure.
I'm pretty sure in Australia they do glizzies. They do all kinds of terrible things in Australia.
Sure, it's the Anglosphere. They've got glizzies over there. I wonder if they're more often made of sheep. Do you get a sheep glizzy?
Oh.
Do you put Marmite on a glizzy in Australia?
That would be delicious. The first thing, not the second thing.
You can't Marmite a glizzy. You need
You know what?
lubricants.
I have like really made such a faux pas. Vegemite.
We are sorry, Eucalyptus, for all of our it's not racism, it's
Ignorance.
ignorance about your culture and people.
It's antipodean bigotry.
Sure, but now she lives in Denver.
It's true.
And so that's fine.
Yeah, no air, but it is apparently pretty nice.
So we need to make fun of her for her oversweet pizza crust.
Oh, God. Denver pizza.
I
Ugh.
keep forgetting that it has a sweet crust that's so grotesque.
There's so much
Denver,
honey in it.
what is wrong?
It's
Honey.
so thick, then you dip it in honey. It's like having a whole, side of breakfast breads.
Of breakfast breads, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like thick because they've pushed all the bubbles out to the crust. It's thick because they wrapped the crust in a layer of bread.
Extra bread.
Extra bread.
Extra
Okay.
bread and honey.
Honey wheat bread.
I'm so fucking disappointed in you, Denver.
Every regional pizza style is garbage.
Jersey pie is great. I was going to pivot away from talking about pizzas, but a Jersey pie is a fantastic type of pizza. It's beautiful. Look it up online if you haven't seen one before. It doesn't put too much sauce on there. It's garlicky. It's delicious. Jersey pie. Accuracy third is, no. Accuracy third definitely is. But before we get to that point, we need to put a shout out to all of our listeners and, in fact, everyone at Burning Man. I promise you an interview on this podcast if you have or if you will give birth on Playa. That is a promise from me to you.
We're desperately begging our shy listeners to come in and fucking talk about Burning Man, and you're like, hey,
Shit out a kid. Tell us your story.
please don't attempt to have birth on Playa. That's not great.
I'm sure someone already has.
Please don't let that be true. And if it is true, please find that person and let us talk to them.
And you can let us know about that at accuracythird@gmail.com. Accuracy Third is produced by Accuracy Third. The music in this episode, if I'm not mistaken, is by me. It is by me.
Lovely.
The music in this episode is soundbed_October 19 Smooth by D-Day.
Yeah. Remember when we had easy access to Rock Band?
I just had a bunch of old acid loops, and once I ran through all of them, I was done making music
Acid
for the
loops.
podcast. Yeah.
I liked Rock Band a whole bunch for it. I would do it more, but I'm so...
Well, don't think the listeners have to hear that, but patrons, thank you so much for your support. You should come to our party on Playa. We don't know where it is, but we do know it's Wednesday at 2 p.m. during event week. So we will see you there, wherever there is.
And we'll announce it once we figure it out, even if it's right at the last minute with a little short bit.
It's real. It's not a
Burner.com?
joke. But it is a
Burnermark.com
joke.
is not a joke, but it's a joke.
It's a joke,
It's a
but
joke.
you can get merch there.
Yeah, get your merch there.
And by merch, you're getting T-shirts with something D-Day has designed on them.
Yeah. Maybe it's a joke about Fnord. Maybe it's a picture of Dr. Worm. It's your call.
D-Day, pretty good graphic designer.
Burnermark.com.
Real quick, Eucalyptus got at me on Slack. She let me know that in either 22 or 23, there was a delivery on Playa. Unfortunately, the baby was 27-week preemie and died 2 days later.
Horrifying. Look at what you get.
You see, D-Day?
Content warning. Dead baby.
Damn it.
Burnermark.com.
I got stuck in a camper trailer with two people who were fighting, and one had been diagnosed with COVID in a 24-hour dust storm.
Oh, no.
And I'd run out of the beer I liked.
All right.
So I send them to their corners and put one in the bunk. You know, these are goddamn adults. You know, I'm like, nah, fuck this for a joke. And one was a good mate of mine, and the other one was a friend of his that I didn't really know. And I'm like, very well. And I'm like, okay. And those two were not getting on. And I'm like, and we were in the 24-hour dust storm. And I'm like, this is my fucking trailer. You're in the bunk. And if you can't be nice, you're in the bathroom. I'm not copping this shit. You know, not doing it. And you drank my last beer, so I'm going to send you both out in the dust storm and you can fucking find me another one. I didn't do that.
You are far too nice. Wow, holy shit, this is such a good interview. Another, like, wrap-up-ish question. Is there art that has really spoken to you out there, or art that you, like, really hated? Like, strong opinions about your numerous years at Burning Man and the art out there?
Oh, yeah, I can't even believe I haven't even talked about the art. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I come back. Oh, yeah, that thing. Talking about naked massages, didn't even talk about the art. I want to have my mind blown. And so for a number of years, I was always like, okay, every single piece of art that I can climb, I'm going to climb, that allows for climbing.
I fully support that practice. That is the best way to engage with art at Burning Man.
Yeah, I really do. And I'm fit, but I'm not a mountain goat. I'm not like something that just can climb up anything, but I will take my time and I will climb things. But there's been a number of pieces over the years. The guy that did Bliss and a few other, those big, just massive female sculptures.
Marco Cochran.
Yeah.
That dude loves big tits. That dude is always sculpting real big, healthy, like D+ cup tits.
Yeah, I need to talk to him. He's never sculpted me. Let's just put it that way. That's not me.
He has a certain idea of an ideal form, and he will not deviate from it.
Yeah, I agree.
But I get it. If you're going to sculpt a 20-foot by 10-foot sized butt, you should probably be making the butt that you can't stop thinking about.
Talking about our evolution, I step out to pee for 1 second.
Well, don't. Pee in the chair like a professional.
Yeah. Okay, then. So some of this art that I've loved is the more intimate stuff. The big stuff is great, and I love finding art on the player. Having said that, there was one from a couple of years ago that was the monster with the boy or the child standing in front of it.
Oh, the Fear Beast.
Fear Beast.
The Fear Beast. That really, really spoke to me. My sister came that year, and we discovered that together. And there was just a real connection between her and I in that piece. And that was when I started to climb and just had an incredible visceral experience with that piece. So there was that. I loved some of the bigger stuff, like Lighthouse was pretty amazing. I really got to play like a little kid on that one. I know the one done by the same folks, Folly, the city town square, that was really great. Flaming Lies Girl, some of their early stuff. One of the first fire pieces I'd ever interacted with, I think that was in 2004. That was pretty amazing. The other one that I loved was the stones, the hanging stones.
Which one of them?
The ones that were the big giant slabs like Temple of Gravity, or the ones that you climbed up?
No, the ones you climbed up, it was done like a triangle.
27 stones.
Stone 27. Yeah.
Stone 27. Yeah. We interviewed that artist on this podcast. You should go find it. And he's incredible and is so kind and interesting, and it's such a good interview. You should go find that episode. If I was a professional podcaster, I'd be able to tell you what it was.
It's one of them. You can search for it on the website itself, and then probably your podcast app as well.
That one was so fun because it was like so straightforwardly climbable. It's all stair steps, but you could not convince your body of that.
So beautiful.
You couldn't not panic.
That's what I loved about it, was you climb up it, and it wasn't until you turned around to go down it, you went, holy fuck, what have I done? And you really had to slow down. You had to slow down, you had to be present, and you had to interact with it the way that your body wanted to interact with. So standing there for half an hour watching different people problem solve to get down and watching their reactions and then go from, oh, this is fun, to that moment you saw it in their eyes, they had to be present. And I'm like, I love this piece of art.
Did you get to climb Night at the Climb-In?
Which one was that?
The barbecue? The car spike?
Oh my God. So I chose not to because I chose not to because the Rangers had a betting pool going on when it was going to get shut down. And I didn't want to be the person that got it shut down because it wasn't the day that I bet on. So
with the tiny bar trailer on the top.
yeah, and then people were taking alcohol and then serving drinks up there.
Mm-hmm.
As they should, obviously.
I loved that because there was, and I've probably said this before, there was never a question about where my next hand and foothold were going to be. They were in every direction and everything was steel. Some of it was quite sharp. And
occasionally people might step on your hand, and some of it moved like tires and windows and shit.
And sheet metal is steel while still not being something great to hold on to.
I am pretty confident about what parts of a car hold weight.
Yeah, did you know that
until
was
that
good
one
American
snapped.
engineering, or was that some of that Korean stuff?
Until that one that snapped in two. There was a car that snapped in two.
Yeah,
and
that's why they closed it.
True with a spike.
Yeah, it's not actually meant to bear those forces, it being a car and all.
Did you see the piece of art? That was 2022 with the guy. It was a piano suspended by wires.
No, I
And
think I did.
It was in the city. It was in the city.
Never even heard of it.
That was incredible.
Oh, no, I do remember that. Next Level climbed up and played that piano.
Yeah, my sister was like, that was her first night on the playa, and she's like, I'm so glad I'm here. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't shitting you, mate. I wasn't giving you a bum steer. And then we ended up at, where'd we end up? Paddle camp, was it? I don't know. We got flogged together. It was great. And then somewhere. Sorry, sis, didn't mean to say that on national radio. But
International radio.
Yeah.
Internet
sure.
radio.
Yeah. So whoops. So the other one was one from years ago. It was these big light up paddle like discs on the ground, and it was sound activated, and you jump from one to the other. There was, oh my God, talk about raver trap. It was
I think I remember the one you're talking about. I love art like that's like sequential and interactive. And
yes,
more of that, please.
Yeah.
Build me big games to play.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, let's make this checkers. And you're like, dude, that takes too much coordination. Let's just jump into it. And I'm like, okay. And then the other one, there's just so many. And I was actually part of an art project in 2017. We built the big, it was a Dragonfly Flowerpot. It was a Dragonfly Mobile.
Was that the one that had like little metal dragonflies on it as well?
It was like a big, think like a kid's mobile you hang over a crib.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It was that at the top, and it had 6 arms at the top, and each of them
Mobile.
it was
Mobile. Sorry, my brain.
Do not point that out.
I couldn't follow.
We figured it out now because of context clues.
I knew it had happened. I knew it would happen. So yeah, mobile. Is that how we Americanize
Thank you.
it?
Embarrassing,
Mobile?
Beth, but thank you too.
Okay, mobile. Okay, got it. So it had a mobile on the top, and then it was a flower pot on the bottom, and it was all to do with dragonflies. And they had 6 sculptures of dragonflies in each of the pods on the arms, and then there was a flame effect on the top. And it had a big lotus flower on the top that was all LED programmable. And then it got hit by a windstorm. Because we're designing it and we're working with them, and we build a lot of the sculptures, and And I'm like, dude, this is not going to survive the winter. Like, we know, we're engineers. And I'm like, oh, fuck, okay. So I built two of the smaller ones, and it was beautiful. It ended up making the front page of the digital Rolling Stone, and that was pretty cool. But yeah, that was a very interesting experience to be part of a crew that built art as well. So
I'll tell you my experience with your art. I remember it really profoundly because I walked up to it and there was a living dragonfly perched on it.
Oh no!
I shit you not. I was doubting for myself. I'm like, is that a very realistic dragonfly? And then it flew away.
Oh, I'll tell Ed he designed it because all of the dragonfly sculptures look like a love heart because when dragonflies mate, they mate and their tails meet and they look like a love heart.
Aw.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cute until you're stuck by your genitals into your partner while you're navigating through the fucking moats of the air.
Exactly. And I get to tell people to this day that I was part of a project that was about fucking insects.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so they're like, dude, I don't care what you do in your off time. And I'm like, well, okay, you do. But yeah, so that was a really incredible project to be part of because it was based out of Loveland, Colorado. And so they wanted to do the love thing because there's always love hearts in Loveland. I don't live in Loveland. I live near Loveland. But it was all Loveland and, yeah, it was all about fucking dragonflies. So it was good.
So if Astral Headwash isn't coming back this year, what's your camping situation?
My camping situation.
To thrive.
We're recruiting you for our camp.
Dude, I'm going to have nightmares about that. Can you not?
Sorry, you're welcome.
Yeah, sorry, not sorry. Yeah. That's the camp I'll be with this year. Sorry, not sorry. No, there's a bunch of us workaholics who are going to camp together and we're going to put fuck in our names. So that means when we get rangered, that the rangers have to use the word fuck over the radio. So I don't exactly know what we're going to be called, but something with the word fuck in it. But we're going to be a work camp. There's a bunch of us that work for peers and rangers. And
I love that you don't even know what you're working on, but you're like, but we'll be working.
If I can give you a suggestion for your camp name.
Yes, please.
It's also the title of this episode. It's about fucking insects. We had a different title of this episode up until you said that. Now this is the title of the episode. And the name of your camp.
It's about fucking insects.
Can I ask what? Oh, my God. Oh, wow. Can I ask what the alternate?
It was going to be Stuffies on a stick, but it's not now.
As long as it wasn't reason to call child services.
No, man. I used to work adjacent to that system. I would never put anyone through it.
Yeah, no, they came out alive. We went in with 2 kids. We came out, we're good.